Yeah, thank you. So, there was a guy speeding on Whitechapel High Street over 20 miles per hour, above the speed limit. And he got caught. Police stopped him. Said, "What are you doing? Can't you see it's 20 miles per hour?" So he said, "It's about getting to my destination quicker rather than speeding." Kim Ledbetter said it's about shortening death rather than ending life. So you can quote it in whichever words you want. But the end is still the same. And the first point I wanted to make, from a religious perspective, like I said, I think from an Islamic perspective, we're very, very clear that when we submit to God, then we don't have full autonomy. Why do I pray 5 times a day? Because I've submitted to God. I don't have that choice anymore of not praying. If Ramadan comes, I don't have that choice of not fasting because I've submitted to God. So we don't have full autonomy. We have limited autonomy. And as long as the autonomy is within the boundaries of what God has said, it's fine. But then sometimes God has the ultimate word. And when it comes to taking life, we believe that God is the only one who can take life, not myself. And there was one incident where a person came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and said that, I'm fed up with life. And he was in the cemetery and he was rolling next to the grave. So he said, "Sorry, there's a lot of burdens and lots of problems that you have, but you can't take your own life. The only thing you can do is pray." And he gave him a prayer. And he said, "Say these words and keep praying to God for this." He said, "Allahumma ahyini ma kanat al-hayatu khayran li." In Arabic it says, "Oh Allah, give me life as long as life is good for me. And give me death when death is good for me." So that's the most you can do. Right? So from a religious perspective, I don't think there's any issue about where we stand on this from an Islamic perspective. But from a societal perspective, I have lots of issues. And one of them is what David mentioned, and is what I mentioned previously. People are scared to come to the hospital, especially after COVID. There's a lot of suspicions about what happened during COVID. A lot of untruths that are being spread in the community. And if today the bill is passed and somebody's ill, an elderly gentleman who's seen on the news that there's an assisted dying bill, there's already suspicion about coming into the hospital. When an ambulance turns up, will he even call the ambulance? That's my question. Because he'll be thinking, what's the point? They're going to I have people in the community, sometimes when I'm with families in ITU, they'll take me to the side room and say, "What was it that they gave in that injection? Are they trying to kill him? Are they trying to kill my dad? Are they trying to get rid of him quickly?" They already have these suspicions, and I have to say, no. It's just part of the medicine. Some of our patients won't take pain relief during palliative care because they think that it will hasten death, and therefore they will bear the pain. And I have to tell them, "Don't worry, you can take this," and they'll say no. And this is without the assisted dying bill. What's going to happen when there is an assisted dying bill? As David mentioned, it's mainly in the ethnic minority communities in our areas, in Whitechapel, in Newham, in Waltham Forest, where the people are most vulnerable and most scared. because it was the ethnic minority community that suffered the most during COVID. So that's point number one. The second one is in giving personal autonomy, individual autonomy. So this is all about, it's all quoted as we're giving individuals autonomy. We're giving individuals autonomy. So, okay, that's fine. We live in a free world, freedom of choice, free choice for everyone. But the elderly person in the community didn't have the choice when you passed the bill of how society now looks at that person. The mental health patient doesn't have the choice. Not only one, I'm talking about hundreds and thousands of elderly people, hundreds and thousands of sick people, hundreds and thousands of mental health patients will not have the choice and the autonomy to control how other people will look at them in society because the assisted dying bill has been passed. Because once they go to the hospital, or once they become a slight burden on the costs of society, and we know what's happening with the NHS at the moment, and slowly, this could become a very, very slippery slope. Because today they'll say, no, it's going to be a choice, but slowly, individuals will feel that, why is my son looking at me as a burden? Why is my daughter looking at me as a burden? Why is my brother looking at me as a burden? Because we've created a society, we've created a mindset within the people that everyone has a choice to leave this world whenever they want. We've given them freedom of choice. But those who don't want to leave now feel that there's a burden on them, and they are being looked at as a burden on society. And last year 367 patients took a lethal dose of medication in Oregon because assisted suicide, assisted dying, whatever you want to call it, is allowed there. But they do a survey before the person takes the medication, and out of 367 patients, 159 of them, 43.3%, said they had concern about being a burden on families. Ouch. And currently, Age Concern tells us that there are 375,000 people over 60 in England and Wales that are estimated to be victims of abuse every year at the moment. Right? So, by giving autonomy and freedom of choice to one individual, how have we allowed society to view elderly people, sick people, mental health patients, etc.? It's a knock-on effect that we're not looking at the moment. And I think that's really, really bad for society. I think it's really, I personally feel very, very strongly about how people will view individuals in society, because we are supposed to live in a society where a black person, a white person, a mental health patient, a fit person, an elderly person, a young person should be equal in the eyes of everyone, not be seen as a burden. And then coercion. How do you police coercion? How do you police pressure? So I work in the community as well as working in the hospital. The whole community knows me, and we have already seen incidents where young people don't look after their parents as they used to before, and houses are getting more and more expensive in London. And if you have an elderly father, an elderly mother who's always going to hospital every week, what is the son going to think? What is the son and the daughter going to say to the father? Father, you've got this choice. Why are you not taking it? Don't say my name. And if you do, I'll be there. Daughter will say the same. I haven't got a roof over my head. And it's happening already. In our society, I can give you examples of where it's happening already. And this is without the assisted dying bill. And there's a professor in Netherlands who was for the assisted dying bill when it was passed in the Netherlands. His name is Theo Boer, Theo, and surname is Boer. And after the bill was passed, he's a bioethics specialist, and he reviewed cases in Netherlands from 2005 to 2014, and he's changed his mind about the law, saying that it's impossible to police coercion or the criminality of coercion. So, there's a lot of things that we're trying to do in terms of autonomy and freedom for individuals, but it has a very negative impact on society where we live. And then just a few more points. Who is there to determine whether the person's going to have 6 months to live, and how many cases have we seen where 6 months has become 6 years? Yeah. And why only this category of people? You pass the law today, 5 years down the line, we live in a society where mental health, especially in teenagers, is the highest it's ever been. And a 16-year-old will go to a solicitor and say, I want a judicial review, that I've got mental health. Why can't I have the same choice as the person who is dying? I also want to leave. Someone's on a bridge, on London Bridge, and he's just about to jump off into the Thames, and somebody sees him and says, stop, you can't take the jump. So, well, whether it's in the hospital assisted dying or whether I jump off the bridge, what's the difference? Why can they have a choice? Why can't I have a choice? So we're changing the mentality of society, and that's dangerous. So my religious beliefs to one side, I think we really need to think about how this bill is going to affect society. Not today. Today is fine. But in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years time, when it becomes normalized, it's a very, very slippery slope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to turn off that blue light.